Okay. So
And the other thing, we're on now.
we're on now.
Okay, and the other thing I was thinking was, we did that thing about influencers, right?
Right.
Every time we do a thing about an influencer, why don't we have an opportunity for somebody to buy, maybe at a reduced rate, the print that I'm showing? Like the psychiatrist or the therapy doodle?
Yeah.
That's a great piece.
Let's tie that
I
in.
never have it displayed. You want to put more work on the website. I don't want to be overburdened by putting 20 things up at one time and losing 10 days of my life.
Yeah.
Why don't we put one thing up a week?
Let's do it.
Because if you put tons of stuff up all at once, I think that people don't know what to think.
Oh, right.
There's so many choices.
Yeah, if there's too much, it
All right,
definitely
so
makes sense.
let's do that.
So talking about the website,
You want to talk about the website?
yeah, I guess I mean that's what
Let
we're
me
talking
see if I
about.
understand you. Start talking.
So, when it comes to like the inventory,
Yeah.
I look around and I'm like, oh, there's so many things for sale here at the Stabin Museum, but they've never been online. It's definitely a smart idea to take our time and roll them out.
Yeah.
Even better if they're limited, release, smaller editions, limited runs.
Well, yeah. So,
That might be a more thought out plan.
well, a nice
actually.
way of rolling them out is by making them special.
Yeah.
In these.
Yeah, because they're tied
podcasts
into something
or
we made. Yeah.
In these vlogs, podcasts.
Those are vlogs, yeah.
Okay. All right.
This is a podcast.
Yeah. Where am I?
Eventually,
All right.
this will be second, like the tiniest bit of, it'll take you no effort at all to know what you're recording on what day. That website should be fleshed out. I think Jenny was today talking about how she's going to tackle getting some new copy for your bio.
Well,
And
you gave me how many things? Like 5 different things.
Yeah, it's
to
quite
explain.
a few. Yeah, and
I'll do it. I'll help.
yeah, that'd be great.
I mean,
And the other thing is they can be used not only on your website, but it's a good starting place
it's
for
content.
Wikipedia. It's a good starting place too.
Okay. Well, what is the thing with Wikipedia? If you write it, they just don't put it up. It's got to be seen and noted somewhere else, like somewhere in the digital landscape. Like it was in a newspaper. It's fact. It's not. You just can't put up whatever you want on Wikipedia. They have to be able to verify.
When you make certain claims, I mean, there's a standard to that I'm not necessarily well versed on.
Okay.
But if you make like a factual claim that's of any kind of significance, they might want you to source that info.
Okay.
But nowadays, if you're on a podcast and you talk about something, or we make a video about something, and you've got, obviously, you'd have to be it'd have to be a well thought out forgery to
I'm not beyond
be denied. Right. So it's like, but, if we make a video about your early life and you start showing, photos from your early life and why you got into art and that sort of thing, I don't think Wikipedia is going to really turn their noses up at a video about that.
I've always, I don't know, but I've been surprised at things that come down, and I don't know why they come down.
I want to get to the
And I
bottom
don't
of
know why they come down, because I can't imagine who's putting up a stink.
Right. Who could it be?
Who could it be?
Who could it be?
The what is it called? The evil eye or the green eye?
The evil eye.
I hate pausing like this and not knowing what the hell I'm saying, but there's like a green eye of envy.
Oh, that you get the, they call it Hamsa? Hamsa?
What did you
Is
just
that what
say?
it is? That symbol? You know that symbol?
No.
Whoa. That's like one of the best symbols of all time about warding off the evil eye.
What's
it's
that?
Like a superstitious thing that people wear to ward off the evil eye.
Oh, the hand?
The eye of it. Yeah.
Does it have an eye in it?
Yeah.
All right. I don't know what you're talking about,
So
but
cool.
I kind of seen
We're
it.
gonna look into that.
All right. Next podcast.
Steak and cake party. You want to tell
and
people
cake
about
party.
steak and cake?
Sure. I was having a piece of steak, and I was having a piece of cake.
Same time?
And I'm having a party. And why am I having a party? Because, okay, so we have the art project with the arrows that's up and down.
Yep.
The less than a mile strip between the beginning of town and my place.
Yeah.
Started with 15 people knocking on their doors, maybe I asked 20 people, 15 said yes. Now there's about 35 signs up and down the block.
It's just bloomed.
And
Yeah.
it's going out of town. People from other towns who have people who have storefronts that, okay.
People who have
You
storefronts
gotta edit this.
in neighboring
You gotta
towns.
edit this.
No,
okay, so there's
you're
a
at the mercy.
storefront in Hazleton that's on Broad Street that
Right.
funnels right back into Jim Thorpe, and it's very prominent as far as the amount of traffic and being able to be seen.
Yeah.
They're about 17 miles away, and they want to put up a sign. So I told you, I don't know if I told you this on tape, but somebody in Studio City, California wants to put up a sign.
Yep.
I got to get back to these people. The people who are on Broadway I'm having a party for them, I think on the 27th. Do you know what the date is?
27th would be a Friday.
It's a Friday. It's a Friday
that's
night.
correct,
Yeah.
yeah.
So it's the 27th of September.
That'll be in this very space.
It'll be in the
over here
building.
yeah.
I don't know if it's going to be in the restaurant or out here, but
It's funny talking about the Arrow Project. We're in the ABC room right now, which is a lot of the characters are on the walls.
Yeah, that's one of the things we could talk about
Yeah.
attached to the Arrow Project.
Yeah.
But I just want to show my appreciation for everybody. So originally I was going to have a party for 15 people. Now I'm having a party for about 35 people.
Yep.
Everybody's going to bring somebody. There might be 70 people.
They're going to have
here.
steak. They're gonna have
I'm
cake.
going to have steak and cake and Chardonnay
Yep.
and a pay bar.
There you
I'm
go.
going to try to pay for that steak.
Right.
So anyway.
Well, one of the things that I was thinking about doing
Yeah.
with that is tying that into social media.
Yeah.
And we've been getting, so there's a give and take to it because everyone that's been part of the project, has been so gracious in allowing us to use their real estate to display this work. And it's been leading people to go on an adventure and end up here at this business. During this party, we could live stream it, and we could have a live stream where you just allow them to, kind of say thanks to them, and they could also shout out their businesses live on Facebook. We could do something like that.
Oh, that'd be great.
Yeah, that's
People
very
love that.
cutting edge too. It won't go out in video; it'll be live video.
Oh, live stream it on
so
Facebook.
even if you can't come, everyone's
Oh,
involved.
so this is the story about the party you're not really invited to, but you could watch like a fly on the wall?
Absolutely.
All right.
Yeah, everyone's involved that way.
Okay, so you said something about, it's funny, we're in the ABC room.
Yep.
We didn't mention where we are now.
We're in the Stabin Museum.
We're in the Stabin Museum. We're in a room. Let me see. Okay, so we're in a room that's all framed out.
Yep.
With black molding frames with thin black molding.
Yep.
That has every page from Daedal Doodle, the ABC book for the ages. Before I finished the book, the first thing I did while I was making the book was I framed out this whole room with empty frames, which is kind of funny because it looked good. It had a 2001 feel to it. It's like very blank, very white.
You forced yourself to
So
get them finished.
the frames are talking to me.
Yeah.
And as I was working on the book, I didn't want to lose track that I had to go from letter A to letter Z.
Mm-hmm.
Letter Z 0.5. Anyway, so I had empty frames talking to me all the time and saying, finish me, fill me, fill me, fill me, fill me. And so that's the room we're in right now. And as soon as I finished the book, the Allentown Art Museum came in here and they said, who'd you do this for?
And everything disappeared.
And I said, I did it for you.
Yeah.
And they said, okay, we're going to take this and give you a one-man show. But you can see that one-man show here at the Stabin Museum
268
on steroids.
West Broadway.
268 West Broadway, Jim Thorpe, PA.
Yeah, there you go. So the steak and cake party, what time is it going to be at?
I forgot.
You forgot?
Maybe 6:30.
6:30.
Not prepared.
The details could be
I'm
loose.
not prepared. It doesn't say
It's
it.
okay if the details are a little bit loose. But, I mean, we'll be announcing it
You know
on
what?
social media if we're doing
If
something.
you're invited, you know what time it is.
Definitely do.
If you're on social media,
You'll know.
it's not going to be before 6:30.
Right.
And it's not going to be after 7.
Depends if you're on the West Coast.
I don't know where you are. I don't know where I am sometimes.
They could be...
Excuse me. We should have an on and off switch for this mic so I could cough.
We're going to get killed.
We need cough
Eventually, we're going to have cough
Cough
buttons.
buttons,
We'll,
all right.
we'll get there. Which brings me to the next thing of getting there.
Yeah.
You said to me a couple days ago about a medium format camera.
Mm-hmm.
Why is it that you think we need one?
Okay. Because it gives me the flexibility of photographing details of my painting. And what do I mean by that? Some of my paintings are so involved that if you focused on details of different sections, I want to make a book. Let's say I have 15 paintings. Maybe 15 paintings isn't enough for a book. But the way my paintings work are, if you went into a section of my painting and just blew it up and used it as a spread in a book, it would look like somebody else's painting.
Right.
Full painting.
Yeah.
And so, point is, one painting could have 5 details in it. For me to go and take a painting, which could be 8 feet by 4 feet, 6 feet by 4 feet, 4 feet by 3 feet, whatever it is, I have to go to Manhattan
For a reproduction, right?
to get it shot.
Yep.
And it's a drag. It's super expensive. And sometimes I have to leave it overnight, so I have to come back, which is crazy.
So it's now 2 days' time.
It's crazy. And, maybe I could cut that down to 1 day, and maybe I could get somebody else to do it in PA, but it's a whole day, whatever it is. And you said you wanted to get a hot camera.
Yeah, video camera.
So this is like a double hot camera, but it has multiple uses. And the only problem is shocking my wife.
She'll be shocked.
She'll be shocked.
She'll really be shocked.
She'll be shocked, yeah.
Well, she
Like,
might have
you
the
did-
same reaction I had.
You did what?
Yeah.
I didn't buy it yet,
Well,
so it doesn't
well,
matter. Right now it's just
Yeah, it's just something we're talking
hot
about.
air, right?
And she might have the same reaction I did, which is like, you need a vault to put this in. You need a camera.
Well,
like
now
an
that we're
equipment locker.
talking about it and everybody knows, yes, I have a safe to put it in.
Okay, there you go.
Speak of the devil.
Speak of her. And she calls.
Hi, honey.
Hello?
Yeah, hi. You're on our podcast.
Oh, no.
Yeah.
Okay.
We were just talking about you as well.
Lovely. I hope it was something good.
It's always good. I love you so much. What's up?
I was just calling to see if Chef Phil was around.
He is around. Do you need me to give him my phone?
Is that Chef Phil at Cafe Ariel, 268 West Broadway, attached to the
Chef
same museum?
Phil of Cafe Ariel at 268 West Broadway. You want me to hand him this phone?
No, it's actually unnecessary. I was just going to ask him if he needed a ride from his house to the restaurant since it's raining. But
No, he's here. He's here.
Okay, that's all.
This has been riveting. I love you. Goodbye.
That's part of everything that's going on here. Like, the phone doesn't stop. There's endless distractions, right?
Right, right. Well, not in the middle of the night when I get most of my work done.
That's the time.
Okay.
It's just, that's the time you get.
So what am I doing now? What am I working on now?
Well,
you might ask, or people might
might
be
ask,
wondering. So
yeah.
we did something last week where I showed how to do cross-hatching. But what happens when cross-hatching gets overdone? I'm trying to overdo a doodle now.
Yes.
So I could show.
And what you're talking about is for the people that are listening only on audio on iTunes and the like, Victor's always got a sketch pad in front of him when we do podcasts. I think last episode was the only exception.
I don't know, but it's not unusual that I'm talking to people and I'm drawing at the same time, and
Yep.
I'm just basically doodling. And so we did a podcast last week where I showed how to crosshatch.
You did a vlog that didn't come out yet. The video didn't come out yet.
Someday I will know the difference between a podcast and a vlog. This is a podcast, right?
Yeah.
But it has video, right?
Right.
But it's longer.
Right.
So it's called a podcast.
Well,
if
it's
you do a
mostly a
vlog and it's
conversation.
5 minutes,
Yeah.
it's called a vlog. If you do the same thing, and if you do a 5-minute podcast, it's called a vlog.
No, it could still be a podcast. Podcast is a conversation.
Okay. I did a vlog, and the vlog was dedicated to showing how you would crosshatch, which is a fundamental way of creating shadow with a pencil or a pen. So I have this technique where I use a correction pen or a whiteout stick. It's a liquid white that comes out of the tip of a Pentel pen or a Bic pen. And right now, okay, so when I use the whiteout stick, it's to fight back all the cross-hatching that I did because maybe I did too much, and it also creates another pattern. And we're going to have that on the vlog.
Yes, we're
I'm
gonna
not
make
going to necessarily show that now because the vlog has a camera right on top of my hand.
That's
But
right.
what
Yep.
I'm doing is overdoing a doodle now so that I could doctor it later.
You're prepping.
Which is kind of like a creepy tease because we're not showing it.
Oh, of course.
All right.
But they'll actually, if I think about it, let me think. When this comes out, they'll see it the day after. So if you're watching this on Wednesday, it'll come out tomorrow.
Yeah, we're getting organized.
Definitely getting organized. There's
We're getting organized.
There's a crippling
we know
schedule.
we're going to know where our shit is soon.
Yeah,
Okay.
it's gonna happen.
All right.
So the camera kind of makes me start thinking about the necessity of, and we were talking about this more, like how do we get more done? How do I end up here so that I have to like sleep on the couch to get things done? Mm-hmm.
I'm getting you 2 couches.
One of the obvious things
Okay.
is get you back on Twitch TV for a stream each week.
Uh-huh.
And figuring out a camera situation for that was something that we were talking about. I looked at options. Like you could get a $150 webcam that would work. Because our problem was there has to be a camera facing down on what you're actually working with. Like the
So
work
the
surface.
inexpensive webcam camera, can it get close up?
Yeah, it can get close up, but 1080p.
Excuse me?
It'll be 1080p. You could zoom it. You'll lose a little bit of quality when you zoom. Mm-hmm. But because it's not a camera, it's a camera that's meant for those web broadcasts. It's not necessarily a, camera like a medium format camera or a mirrorless camera like the Sony we were looking at.
We don't want people to feel cheated as far as quality.
Definitely not.
No.
Twitch.tv, you're going to lose a little quality, but we'll be recording at the same time. When do you think you want to return to that? Like on a time frame?
When I have a incontrollable,
Undeniable.
unstable emotional mood swing,
Okay.
and I just order the camera.
Right.
All
It's
right?
going to be an
Because
impulse.
I've
3 in the
actually
morning.
lost my mind, and I ordered something that.
Well, there's a scale of cameras you could get for web. I mean, you could get $150 camera. You can get a $6.
Well, let's not even talk about what the camera costs. But you know what the word Rubicon means?
Rubicon.
Yeah.
I
You know
think
the
you've asked me
Rubicon?
this before.
Yeah,
but
do you remember?
Do tell.
Because I told you.
Is it the point of no return?
The Rubicon is the point of no return. If
There we
you
go.
buy a piece of equipment like this,
You gotta use
now you're dedicated.
Now you got to use it. Yeah.
That means you're down.
There's no like.
Yeah, there's no looking back.
There's no like. I don't feel like filming today.
Yeah, well,
because you've got it right.
yeah, you have to use it.
You have to use it. How many times do you think you would want to broadcast on Twitch a week?
I don't know.
Because I think eventually we'll.
I wouldn't mind. Wait a second. You asked me a question. I said I don't know.
Yeah.
I don't mind recording on Twitch. I don't like to be that organized where I have to be at a certain place at a certain time because of all the distractions I get.
Oh, sure.
It'd be really great if I could get some sort of GoPro camera on the top of my head.
Just hit it.
Hit it and go,
Ready to
okay,
go.
so I'm doing this doodle now, and I happen to be on the line at the DMV.
Yeah.
And they're going to be here for 45 minutes, so why not do this?
Yeah.
Can we do something like that?
We could be. You'd have to be the guy walking around with a GoPro head mount. all the time.
So if you had a GoPro head mount and you were like focusing on a drawing, every time you were drawing, you would be looking down with the GoPro.
Yeah.
And then every time you look up and you're talking to somebody or getting distracted,
Yeah.
that would be a new thing for drawing on.
That would be a
It's
totally. You should.
That's
we
that's
should
what we
think
need.
about
How
that.
much is a GoPro?
Well, I'd have to look into if they have a scenario where we can get a GoPro to stream live, because we're talking about streaming. But in terms of recording, we could figure something out like that.
That's a funny idea.
It is a funny idea.
Yeah.
And, all right, so one of the things you have is there's a bit of a lag time between you starting to record videos and like learning about YouTube.
Yeah.
And there's a certain amount of editing that...
Excuse me. Don't forget to subscribe. ring the notification bell.
That's right.
And leave a creative comment.
You've got that in your brain now, right?
Yeah.
But that's like base level.
And I kind of said it like Chris Walken. I paused a little bit. Yeah.
Presidential pause. It was good. It was dramatic.
No, it was a Chris Walken pause. I put Chris Walken's picture. He's 10 years older than me, right?
Okay.
So I put Chris Walken's picture as my key picture on Facebook, right?
That was your profile?
My profile picture, yeah.
It's Christopher Walken.
It was up there for 3 months before somebody said, why do you have Chris Walken's picture instead of your own?
No one thought about it.
No one cares.
It's a little strange.
Yeah.
That speaks to the oddities of social media. It's like you can get away with absurd things like that.
All right. So you were saying something and I interrupted you.
Well, I'm saying,
remember what you were talking about?
Here's what I'm saying, right? So from a creator's perspective, when you're creating content like that,
yeah,
a GoPro is really good if you can sit down and just go without too many filler words or knowing what your next sentence is going to be. Getting to that comfort level, then that makes it part of it.
And so what I mean to say is I want to apologize in advance for any filler words. All right,
well, your filler words on podcasts, they go away because you're having a conversation with me.
All right,
like
that's just want to
talking about my generation.
Yeah. So anyway.
You know? That's one of the easiest things. It's weird with filler words, but that mode of speaking is totally natural when you're not used to recording yourself for YouTube.
Nobody wants to be remembered by their filler words.
No. And most people don't notice them. You know.
So Obama, right?
Yeah, Obama.
So
who I said was like perfect.
Well, when Obama talks, you're just wondering if he's filtering out filler words. Like maybe he's given so many speeches and every time he used a filler word, somebody zapped him with a rubber band. And so he's thinking,
he's trained
not to
use
a little bit. The filler words. He's pausing. And as he's pausing, he's thinking, somebody's hit me with a rubber band in the eye.
Rubber band's coming.
Rubber band's coming. It's like, what the hell is he thinking about in between?
He hears it.
He's smart. Why is it taking so long?
He hears it band back as some assistant stretches it to its critical point for effective pain when it lapses
I hit
back.
Einstein in the butt with a rubber band the other day when he was barking too loud, right?
Yeah.
Now I just show him the rubber band.
Right.
Stops barking.
We got to come up with a version of that for...
I don't want to abuse him just for content.
Well, it's not for
you got to get
your speech in line on camera.
Maybe we got to get Tony or one of my kids or go to a shelter and rescue some new dog.
You know what?
Start pummeling them with rubber bands.
I got it. Every time we're filming a video and you start getting hung up on the filler words, Tony is going to bust into the middle of it and tell you some mundane fact about something.
Yeah.
And that's going to become your life. I'm going to have him on speed dial. Yes. And I'm going to say, Tony, it's time for you to bust in. And he's just going to blither in.
Yeah.
Like Kramer.
And then we hit him with a rubber band?
Yeah. And then then he hits you with a rubber band.
It could become
too much.
I don't want to be known as being a sadist.
Right.
I just wanted to train my dog because he was over barking.
So Obama, I imagine, if you listen to not just his speeches, but when he's speaking in public without a prepared speech, you start to notice that he'll be talking about something and he'll use a filler word to transition to some other thought. Mm-hmm. And it's really effective. But getting that takes hours of practice. I mean, for you, you're sitting down and doing these things, with me, and we're facilitating like content, trying to come up with like a narrative about something that you've never thought about doing, but it provides value for people. It's totally unnatural. It's like it's going to take time to master it. It's an entirely different skill set that people take very seriously.
They didn't have debate class in art school.
Yeah, exactly.
Right? So
yeah, of course they didn't. Like that wouldn't have come up. But I think
although it is important to be able to talk about your art.
Absolutely.
Okay.
And have people look at you with a certain amount of credibility and
are we done talking about my deficits?
We're not talking. We could be, but it's part of the process. The whole point of every piece of content we make is to document kind of
improvement, and then my obvious natural decline.
Yeah. Okay. We're on the way to the top.
I was getting so good.
And then he just devolved into,
Devolving. So let's talk about devolving.
Okay.
So now we're in the ABC room.
Yes, we are.
Excuse me again.
Cough button. Looking for a cough button.
So why did I make an ABC book? Because when my kids were between 1.5 to 2.5, 3, I had read them so many ABC books. And as they were evolving, C is for carrot, C is for cat, C is for caboose, I don't know. My brain was devolving.
Okay.
And so one of the things that Daedal Doodle did was use the dictionary to come up with ideas. So I read about 4,000 pages of dictionaries. As we know, I read them twice, so it seemed like 8,000 pages. And C wasn't for carrot anymore. C was for chelonia. Mm-hmm. What is a chelonia? It's a turtle or a tortoise. And I'm working on the turtle series. And I'm finding these words that are very personal, but I've never heard them before.
Of course.
And then the inside the turtles. Okay, so the other word with chelonia is caoutchouc. What is caoutchouc? It's the rubber that kneaded erasers are made out of.
Right.
And that's something I've been using for 50 years, those erasers that you pull and stretch. And caoutchouc is a rubber that's very elastic, and it's impervious to water. So I have a turtle with a very long neck. Mm-hmm. And so you use the word devolve. So I got to put this commercial into this podcast.
Of course.
And what I think you should do, because I don't want you not to do it, and who wouldn't want to see this image at this point? So maybe we could have this slipped in.
Sure.
And what were we talking about? Use the word devolve?
Devolve.
I was
watching as you learn to record a piece of video content with fluency, eventually we'll reach the top of the mountain and we'll devolve.
And then you just roll backwards.
Just roll backwards down into not filming video. The thing that will freak you out, because there was a certain point where I was
what's that?
There was a certain point where I was doing a lot of speaking on camera.
Yeah.
Is you'll start to notice how people communicate off camera with very low standards of how they communicate. And so you'll be in conversations with people, and if I'm talking while we're recording about filler words with you, you'll start to hear them in everyday speech, and it'll bother you. You'll look at people differently based on their ability to really speak, not just with the choice of words, but
I already do that.
The cadence of them.
It's just sort of like one of the things I've always done. But whether I'm better than anybody is to be, I can't say I'm any better than anybody.
Of
but
course
I'm
not.
always listening to people's filler words.
Of course.
I picked my kids up from the movies. It was 4 teenage girls.
Yeah.
I'm driving them back, and I said, "Tell me about the film." And every time you use the word somebody else has to take over and talk about the plot of the film. Uh-huh. So there was one girl in the car. Every time she opened her mouth, the first thing she said was,
first one?
Well, it was and so, okay, you're done. Next girl. What happened in the movie was the protagonist had a glass of water, the door opened, and then okay, you're done, right?
Now this is a new game.
It's a game that I made up, and I was trying to show them
they can't stop.
They're relying on filler words, and they're not really communicating.
Right.
But it was very funny. It's kind of a staccato moment where people have to shut up, the next person has to start, and it has this funny light switch moment where
you turned having a synopsis of a film they just saw into a tag team sport.
Not only is it a synopsis, it's a synopsis.
Well,
all right.
You're my personal corrector, right? There's this. That's the thing. That's funny that there's that dynamic between us.
But I like the word synopsis.
Yeah.
Because we have synapses.
Sure.
So I'm having a synopsis.
Yeah.
Which either means it ain't working or it's working.
Of course.
All right. Where are we? Is there a topic?
Let's get back to Daedal Doodle.
Well,
right?
no. Okay.
Okay, Daedal Doodle.
What about it?
You're coming up with it. You're raising your kids. Do they remember some of the words that are in the book?
Okay, so
because
how
of
did
their
Daedal
exposure
Doodle
to it.
start? Did I ever tell you about my daddy as a megalomaniac?
Yes. Yeah.
We didn't put this on a podcast.
We put it on a podcast. Yeah.
Okay, so I don't want to browbeat anybody with this story, but I realized that my kids can learn anything. Kids can learn things. Kids have such a high verbal ability at a young age because it's just what's going to keep them alive, right? They have to learn how to communicate. So if you say to a kid, my daddy is a megalomaniac, it's just the same as saying, look at that shape, it's an oval, okay?
Yeah.
So my daddy's a megalomaniac. They might not understand what it means, but they understand how to put it together as far as syllables following syllables. So I had Scarlett walking around at 2 years old going, my daddy's a megalomaniac. My daddy's a megalomaniac. And when I started making the book, I started making the book about 6 months later. I just thought the kids will have no problem with these words. So by the time my kids were 4 years old, they knew what a caracule was. They know what a Zooid Zeppelin zygote is. They know what a Jansky's jambalaya is. They know what a ganoid gubbins is. And by 5 years old, they know all the words in the book.
So still today, would they know?
Of course.
We should have a game show.
We should have them come in after we rehearse them on these words.
Right.
Which, as teenagers, I'm sure they want to do.
Right.
And prove to the world.
Right.
While Skylar's playing piano.
I'm curious because
I want to see us accomplish that. All right.
I just think it's funny because not many children are going to be exposed to that level of vocabulary.
No, nobody is.
It's just not going to happen.
But it does happen because people buy the book because the novel idea that it can happen.
Yeah.
And people are buying the book and they're not calling me back saying, I want my money back.
Right.
Speaking about money back.
Speaking about money
Daedal
back.
Doodle. You want to speak about Daedal Doodle? You could buy it on eBay now for $899. You can get it here for $49.99.
That's right.
You could get it shipped from Amazon on my website for $60.
That's $39.99.
It's got to be improved. Is that fixed?
The Amazon thing is still waiting.
Why?
They take forever. They've yet to even change the status on that.
Did we ever send them the books to that? Did we respond to their query about, are you real? Amazon made an order. We're supposed to fulfill it. So
No,
they
they opened a ticket, so they were investigating it. Then we got some suspicious order that we couldn't identify, and then there was no further correspondence from Amazon Advantage.
All right, so
We were unsure about.
it's a bunch of hurdles and mazes that you got
It's
to
still
jump through.
the ball's still in their court, and they've yet to update us. Actually, they sent one 2 days ago saying like we're still looking into this.
Okay.
But the
All
book,
right, I got a book. Okay, I got a call.
You can get it.
I got a book. I made the book. I went to I wrote the book. I drew the book. I printed the book. The second edition of the book, I went all the way to the end of the earth to get the best quality I could get as far as print reproduction goes, and paper, cloth covers, embossed, spreads, gatefolds, posters are in the book. And I made this book that cost me X amount of dollars. I don't really know what it cost me. Per book from the printer, it cost me about $25 a piece.
Okay.
But thousands of hours before that to get it organized. And I work with some designers, new programs like InDesign that I don't work with that I had to pay. So I was making the book to be my calling card.
yeah,
Last week, I sent it out to a publisher. He called me up and he said, I've never seen a book like this.
right.
And I don't know what I'm doing, but I'm sending it out to get feedback. A publisher called me up, and I told him the story just as I told him the same story I just told now. And he said to me, this is a $110 book.
Right.
It's a coffee table book for people who are in New York or coastal cities.
Why don't?
And I said there's a college in Iowa for writers. Maybe it could be sold there. So it might be a couple of outposts in the middle of the country that might want to buy the book. But he was kind of fascinated by it. Told him about the animations that are being spawned by it, and hell spawned. And he just said to me, this book is a creative platform.
Yeah.
Which is nice to hear from somebody because that's what I've been calling it for a while.
I've almost been thinking about it as a universe.
Oh, I like that.
It's a universe.
Dennis said it was an empire.
It's in my book, no pun intended. It's a universe because you're taking characters that are abstractions of esoteric words. They're part of a living physical art project that's not connected to the book. They're part of a ABC book. They're now part of animations.
They're part of
They're flashcards. What are they going to be next?
The flashcards, they're already.
You get
it's a curriculum concept.
Curriculum? It's
Yeah.
another one that's coming.
Yeah.
What about video game? Daedal Doodle, the 3D experience.
I don't want to get carried away by having too many things and not realizing the initial things.
Oh, of course.
So the video
You're
game
always
thing,
like one step.
The video game, I could imagine, but not today.
Definitely not.
Right.
But when you look at what you've done so far, it's like you're teetering on a really big line or a thin line of like how much can one person do at one point with how many projects you always have going or out there.
So this guy calls me up and he's telling me he understands the book. Somebody called up who gets the whole effort.
Okay.
And he was excited by it. And he's been in publishing for about 25 years. So one of the things that the book's turned into is a curriculum where you go into schools, give kids dictionaries, the right list of words. The list of words generate visual ideas. They turn them into characters, which is the way I made the book.
Mm-hmm.
So by the time I get out of the classroom, I'm usually working with at least 26 kids, and we've made a book, and the classroom has made a book, right?
Yeah.
But, so I said to this guy, what does every Chinese parent want for their children?
Mm-hmm.
He gave me some glib answer. I don't know
I
what
remember
it
his
was.
answer.
What was his answer?
A spoiled eldest son.
Oh, a spoiled elder son?
Yeah.
Oh.
That's what it is.
So I said to him, what I think they want is their children to really know English.
Right.
Okay? So what I'm looking for is to take this curriculum to China, where people are hungry to know English, and give them an opportunity to have a class where they have to read the dictionary to fulfill the assignment. And if you give that to them for a couple of years, what better way to learn English than by reading the dictionary on a regular basis?
Right.
So my emotional problem with that situation is I'd like to do it in America first and see if I could conquer a market in the United States. But this guy was talking about their international distribution, and there's a lot of people in China, right?
There are.
And it would be
In Asia,
really,
just as a whole.
really be interesting to have it start anywhere. But then something else happened that was really terrific. A woman walked into this room, looked around about 3 or 4 weeks ago, and she got it. And she started asking me questions. And she saw the books that I made with other students. And I started to tell her about my curriculum concept and how I'd like to get it in the hands of 689 different teachers. I'd like to get it in the hands of art teachers in the state of Pennsylvania. There are 689 high schools in the state of Pennsylvania. I'm assuming, and I'm sure the number's diminishing, but I'm assuming that each school has an art teacher. If I could get it into the hands of the art teachers, because art teachers understand the book better than anybody.
They're like the target.
No, they weren't my target audience, but
Well, they are a target audience because
they're the people that have looked at the book and they immediately get this aha moment where they say, oh, if I give this class, I'm blending vocabulary with drawing skills. I'm giving the art class the gravity that people can now understand, because I'm teaching language as I'm teaching drawing.
Yeah.
So I want to get it in the hands of every art teacher, but I don't want to sell it to them. I want money from somebody
Okay.
who looks at this and says,
It's
this
worth
is a fabulous
putting out,
idea.
yeah.
This is a way of getting it started. And the fantasy that I have is, okay, I've always had this fantasy. When I lived in New York City, you would be driving down the Brooklyn Queens Expressway and you would see these apartment buildings that hug the highway.
Okay.
And you're just thinking, who can live there?
Yeah.
Why is this happening? Why don't they turn these buildings into warehouses? Who cares if you have a car zipping by if you have a car zipping past a warehouse? It's just inanimate objects. They're not people inside the buildings.
Right.
So in my fantasy, dictionaries aren't being used anymore because of search engines.
Yeah.
And they're not.
And they're digital now too.
And
All
they're
of them.
digital. But there's something about having a book in your hand and scanning a page. It's a list of sound bites that you're not going to get from a digital dictionary. But people aren't buying them anymore. But the people who made the millions and millions and millions of dictionaries, they're not throwing them out. They can't throw them out.
Right.
They're storing them. What does that mean?
There's
it means they're
factories.
spending money on
Yeah.
storing them. Real estate is money. Space
course.
is money.
Yeah.
Space and time in real estate. So in my fantasy, in the middle of the night, somebody goes to these, okay, oh, I'm sorry, my setup is, I missed a component of my setup. In my fantasy, these warehouses, people no longer live in apartments that are flanking highways. Warehouses are flanking the highways. The highways are filled with, not the highways, the warehouses are filled with dictionaries.
Yeah.
In the middle of the night, vocabulary terrorists come to these warehouses, put plastic explosives on the hinges of the warehouse
Okay.
doors, blow the doors off of
Right.
the warehouses. Trucks load up with dictionaries, get on the highway, and deliver dictionaries everywhere around the country. And they're being delivered because they're needed because of the Daedal Doodle dictionary curriculum. That's my fantasy.
That's your dream.
So this woman shows up and she's listening to me, and I could just sound like a lunatic. I know. It's okay. So this is what you're thinking about? That's nice. I gotta go.
Right.
She crab walks out, right?
Yeah.
So, but she doesn't. She looks at me, she
Slowly.
goes, I want you to make that into an animation.
Yeah.
And I just thought, well, I'd like to finish my second animation before I have this one as a third one.
Uh-huh.
But she has, her name's Colleen, she has a real history with fundraising for nonprofits. And she wants to set me up, and she's in retirement. She wants to come out of retirement and work with this concept and see if we can get the curriculum in the hands of every art teacher in a state. I don't know if it's going to be Pennsylvania. I'd like it to be because I live here.
There might
but
be-
I don't care what state it's in.
Yeah. I would almost look for what is the state that has the most arts education, funding in terms of the departments in the high schools. Like do those demographics. That's the one I would target.
I would do it with the least.
You could do it with the least as well.
It's an uphill thing.
It's an inverse of the same concept, right? You could do it with the poorest schools that need this type of stuff. Schools that can't afford to buy the books, so they just have an art. Even if they're so lucky to have an art teacher,
Yeah.
that would be it would be the reverse of that idea, but the same concept. You'd have that need for it.
I would like to do it with the neediest as far as like I've gotten fabulous results with this curriculum.
Yeah.
So if you get fabulous results in an area where people haven't been exposed to this and then all of a sudden they get excited, you're introducing people to conceptual thinking
Yeah.
through drawing.
Right.
And that's not something that was ever going to be thrown on the table. I'm
Of
finding
course.
a lot of rural schools, what they focus on is sports.
Yeah.
And I don't know, okay, nothing against sports, but not having, where is that going to take you later on in life compared to having an eloquent vocabulary and having a drawing skill, right?
It depends.
It depends. It might take a few kids somewhere,
Yeah.
but the bulk of the kids,
Oh, right.
that's what I'm talking about.
Of course. I think what you're trying to say is having more than one option for something that's encouraged.
And I don't want to take anybody away from the Nike sponsorship. Okay?
Exactly, but it allows.
But when they do get the Nike sponsorship, I want them to come across well as far as
Right.
communicating.
It gives people more options to have a broader skill set.
Well, what else do you want to talk about?
So you forwarded me some fan mail you got last week. What's the whole story of that? You get this touching email.
You want to talk about it? You want to remember it? You want me to remember it?
You can tell the audience about it, that sort of thing.
I don't remember it.
You don't remember it?
I kind of remember that somebody sent me a letter. It had a little bit of depth to it.
Yeah.
And they were having a hard time in their life. They
Yeah.
were looking at my work, and it reminded them of what? I don't remember what it reminded them. It sort of took them to a place where they felt good about themselves.
Yeah.
And they sent me a letter telling me that my artwork was therapeutic.
Yeah.
And
You're not going to get one of those all the time.
I'm not a fan of this question because I'd rather just read the letter.
Pull it up on your phone. There you go.
I don't know where it is on my phone.
That's a podcast. This is the fun of 2019.
No.
And I think
I don't remember the gal's name.
I think from what you told me,
I
or
didn't
what I read,
flag it. I might have. I don't know how to find it. Fan letter.
we got to work on that one. You sent it to me. That narrows it down.
Okay.
There you go.
Okay.
Right.
But I don't know if I sent it to you from my phone.
Oh, they're not synced.
They might be.
Okay. Victor is, for everybody on the audio, he's thumbing through his phone right now.
Oh, come on.
But even if we
so
don't,
boring.
Even if we don't find it, it was a rather short message. She basically just said that you kind of made her feel better. And I thought that was cool that you're starting to really send messages out to people.
This is a horrible way of talking about that letter.
Why is that?
Because it's incomplete and the gist of it, I don't remember a lot of stuff, okay? I just get a lot of things thrown at me. I read them fast.
Uh-huh.
I feel good. I move on.
You responded.
I responded, and I was very gracious, and that is easy for me to do, but I don't remember exactly what I said. So.
No dice? Didn't find it? That's a vlog. Victor Stabin versus email.
Come on. People get so much email.
How's that doodle coming along?
It's not bad.
Has it gone bad yet?
It never really gets that bad, but
Right.
I can show how I can use the whiteout stick, and that'll be just fine.
Cool.
So, anyway. There's another topic?
Yeah, we could talk about the Victor Stabin newsletter. I really want to get that out there for people because we just started using it again. So you've got a newsletter that comes out.
Yeah.
Last week it announced the first video episode. How many years have you had the Victor Stabin newsletter?
Maybe it's been used for about 5 years.
Okay.
Once every few months.
Because I went through
Maybe
and
once every 6 months.
I had to go in and clean.
Yeah.
Just going through. Now we're trying to make sure that if you do sign up to the Victor Stabin newsletter, you will be getting quality content about new art, videos, projects, updates to the store, deals, things like that.
Deals. You can get a deal.
And if you're signed up to it, you'll be getting quality content. You won't just be getting, 3 emails a week about stuff.
Somebody came in and bought the $1,200 print the other day with the turtle frame. And I wanted to know, how did they connect with me?
Right.
And they said, well, we bought a print last year, so we've been thinking about you.
Yeah.
And I just thought, okay, so that's the way that works.
Yeah.
But they've been listening to all the vlogs,
Right.
all the blogs, all the podcasts.
Yeah.
And I have to think that this is putting us into people's consciousness.
Right.
And it's pushing them towards us,
Yeah.
which is terrific.
It-
But
How many times do you sit
it's
down?
a lot of work. It's got to be consistent. And if you drop the ball, the whole thing, the souffle falls.
That's Victor Stabin paraphrasing me in a way.
You can't miss one of these episodes. You can't miss making one of these episodes. They have to get out.
It's true.
Okay.
For all you people out there that listen and
You're
are
like
watching,
a Swiss railroad agent. You know?
I am the guy that says it has to be done. You got to do it. Got to keep doing more. But it absolutely is. It makes you part of people's lives. And how often, really, how often are you going to sit down with somebody and have an hour-long conversation?
I don't mind doing this.
Yeah.
I'm finding that if I could doodle while I'm doing this, it's a pleasure.
Oh, of course.
Okay, and then we have a product afterwards.
Exactly.
And the doodle calms my brain.
Uh-huh.
Okay, and I'm using filler words.
Of course.
Okay. Here we
1 a
go.
minute, 1 to 3 a minute.
So
That's
how
not that
often am
bad.
I going to have a 1 hour conversation with somebody?
If somebody came off the street, they come into the Save Museum, you might give them a tiny tour. But how often are you going to have an hour-long conversation where they get to know about all the projects you've done or what you're working on now? It's valuable content for people. You get back to the couple that you were speaking about where they came back and bought another print.
It's really hard to talk to people who come in off the street, because if you get 2 or 3 people who come in off the street, they're adoring the situation.
Yeah.
They want to talk to you for as long as you can, take it.
Right.
And so the point is, do this instead of that.
It's a way to give people a version of that.
Yeah.
I think
All
it's a smart way of leveraging that.
All right, so we are looking for a salesperson who's going to be around that can do a lot of representation for me.
Yes.
I do have this building, which is a pretty unique facility. Until I find the right salesperson, I am here.
Yeah.
I am talking to people, and sometimes it's kind of questionable, like how much time I can spend. Spending more time, what I'm saying is I'm spending more time than I want to, but it's still a big compliment to be able to talk to people.
Yeah.
I want to tell anybody who shows up, do not tell me the story about how you can't draw.
I knew that was coming.
I have people, let me clear my
Cough
throat
button.
for this one. I might need more water. I'm going to go on a rant. I have people come by, look around, and for some reason, they go into this mode where they go, I can't draw.
Did you know?
I tried to draw when I was a kid, but I really couldn't draw.
Just
I
never
didn't
happened.
have any drawing skills. And I'm telling people, like, in some kind of kind way, everybody can draw. I mean, if you look at a New Yorker cartoon, those drawings aren't so good, but they have nice ideas. Let's start with that. You could draw a stick figure. If you stick to it a little bit, you get a little bit better.
Yeah.
And so there's only so much of this I can't draw therapy that the milk of human kindness is dry as far as this topic goes. I don't want people coming in and telling me they can't draw. And then the next thing that happens is, as soon as this happens, I spent 3 hours one day with a serial set of people coming by and telling me they can't draw.
Thing,
right? And
conversation
then the
ends.
other thing that's going on is we have pianos all over the place because Skylar's such a great piano player.
Right.
I didn't want her to be in a room where there wasn't a piano. I have people coming in and they're playing Heart and Soul.
Over and over.
There's no Heart and Soul playing in this institution.
This is a
If you
throwback.
come here, do not play Heart and Soul.
Yeah.
I don't want to hear it.
Yeah.
I had somebody come in one day, wouldn't stop playing it for an hour. Yeah, it was like
Now when
it was
someone,
like a piano sequence in Reefer Madness when the guy's going nuts.
I just thought of something that you might not have realized.
What?
All these drawing lessons that
Yeah.
you've been doing, these little tiny lessons,
Yeah.
we'll put them together on a playlist.
Yeah.
And when someone says, I can't draw, you
Yeah.
just give them a card that has a URL to that playlist and go, here you go.
Yeah, this teacher, here's a drawing lesson.
Here you go. Here's
Stop bugging me.
here's hours of drawing lessons,
Okay.
that
All
have
right.
been built up over a year.
Stop bugging me.
Stop bugging me. Go learn to draw.
Tell it to somebody who fucking cares. I learned to draw. You know how I learned to draw? It wasn't 10,000 hours. It wasn't the hour thing. It was 10,000 miles. 10,000 miles of lines. Easy.
Right.
Okay? So I did that. Do I want to hear your story about, I picked up the pencil. I kind of like couldn't draw because I drew like about 3
And I gave
feet,
up.
3 feet of lines.
After an hour.
And I gave up. It's like, okay, you know?
Yeah.
All right, bye.
Totally.
Niagara Falls.
You're not going to get me to say it.
Did you watch it?
Oh, I watched it.
Okay.
You think you can get me to say it.
I don't even know what it is.
And that's going to be it for us. This is episode 9. Or was episode 9 of the Victor Stabin podcast.